Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate, make it right. I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the Coven podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys. We're happy to be here.
Yes, so happy to be back from our break.
Yes, it was a much needed break, but unfortunately I was sick the whole time, so it just kind of sucked for me, but
I know, I'm so sorry, but it gave us a chance to somewhat relax and catch up on things and come back with a fresh perspective for you guys.
That's right. I think it's funny because I was like, my body just saved up all the sickness for a good 9 months, and then bam, here you go. We're going to have 9 months of sickness for the next 30 days.
Right? Just hopefully that was it for the year. You're done.
I hope so. I know we had a lot to talk about, so.
I know.
Do you want to kick us off on something?
Yes, let's dive right in. So I know before we signed off for our break, I had mentioned to you guys that I might be able to go to a Beltane festival and witches ball, and I am happy to report back that I was able to go, and It was a really great experience. So I got to dress up in like a little Ren Fair dress and drove out there. It's only like maybe 19 minutes away from my house, and it's this old like Victoria Black Swan Inn is the name of the property where the ball is at. You might have heard of the Black Swan Inn. It's been featured on like ghost hunting shows like Ghost Adventures, and if you YouTube the place, you will see lots of footage and interview of the current owner. Her name's Jo, and she talks really openly about all of her paranormal experiences on the property. Like, I probably could have done a deep dive on this place alone, but I'll just share some of like these tidbits. The property itself, I found out, was like a battleground, I think in early Texas days. It's next to like the Salado Creek, which is, a lot of people who are traveling in the deserty area would go there for water, and so there was a big battle. So a lot of people think that's where a lot of these ghost and paranormal activity kind of stems from, and even the Native American lore in that area going back, they really thought of like Salado Creek as kind of a spiritual water, that it just kind of flowed all by itself and had like connection to gods. And so there's a lot of cool, I guess, energy there. Well, to me it's cool because it's paranormal. She was saying, like, on the Ghost Adventure show, that there is definitely like a negative kind of energy there, and it can get a little violent. So like her kids were experiencing bruising in the night and things like that.
Yikes.
And so this is like her actual home, and they keep it kind of antique. And so like you couldn't go upstairs during the ball, but like the whole property was available for us to go and explore, and they had little merchants, and like their alcohol was included with the ticket price, which is really cool. And the homeowner, Jo, she was like bartending, so every time we'd go get a drink, I would like ask her about experiences and all these kinds of things. And I was like going around asking everybody their experiences and just being like a really nerdy ghost chick, And it's the sun was still up, and I was walking into like the back right kind of like parlor room of the main like downstairs area with my husband Wayne, and as soon as I crossed the threshold, I got like goosebumps and this tingling energy all in my arms, and I'm just like, whoa, Wayne, there's some energy here. And if you've heard our podcast before, he's a skeptic, but I'm always like super honest, and I'll just divulge all my weird woo-woo onto him.
Right.
He's just like, okay, all right. And so I'm like taking pictures. There's these old antique dolls I ended up taking pictures of, and I posted those on our Instagram. All this antique furniture, and then there's a door in the corner that just said private, because this is a residence, so I just assume it was a room we weren't supposed to go into, like a bedroom. And I was in that room for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, but I started hearing a baby cry behind that door, and so I really felt like I was intruding on like someone's family moment. Like there was a kid trying to get his diaper changed or something, and he was cranky, and so I was like, I just got this feeling we got to get the fuck out of here. So I just kind of like whisper like, let's get out of here, come on, let's go. And so we get outside and we're sitting down, and I was like, that was really weird that there was a baby in there. Like, I didn't think there were children here. And he was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that baby, did you hear that baby crying? And he's like, no. I didn't hear any baby crying. And I was immediately just like, are you fucking with me right now? Like, literally just like that. And he's like, no, I didn't hear a baby cry. And I was like, Wayne, I am not fucking with you. I heard a baby crying. And that's why I told us to get out of there. And so I am like in shock and like smiling. I'm like, did I just have a freaking ghost experience? So
That's awesome.
I know, like, I've never heard anything as far as I know like that ever. And so I go back in the room. And I'm like, I decided to ask this vendor who was selling art, because I had had a previous conversation with her. She was just a nice artist who had spent a lot of time selling her stuff there and has had paranormal experiences. And she was like, there's no kids here. There's no one under the age of probably like 10 here. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I am 99% sure that's a ghost baby cry, unless for some reason there was like a phone in the distance playing a baby crying on a YouTube video or something like that.
Right.
So I cannot believe that happened to me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But Wayne didn't hear it?
No. So I was
so
wondering,
weird.
because we know, he's a skeptic. He's not really open to these types of things. So could that explain why I would be receptive to it and someone else couldn't? Or is that not how ghost activity works, you know?
Well, it could be, your Pisces activity. Remember how I told you, or for anybody who has listened to this show, I won't, I know that I have abilities, and I'm pretty sure that you do too, Sharon. So I think maybe you were just tapping into something there, and it was part of your hearing something or feeling something that happened in the past.
That could be because, like, the homeowner has said, like, the right people are going to find us. We don't do that much advertising, and the ghosts will find the person that they want to communicate with, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So there you go. I am really excited, and I really want to go back. I found out that this place has events like on a bi-monthly status, and apparently it like appeases the ghosts there. Oh. Like they like to say that the couple who lived there previously, like, I don't know the exact year, I want to say like sometime in the 1800s, early 1900s, maybe I'm wrong, but that they had big extravagant balls there, and they loved having all these people over and just having a lot of joyous occasions, and that one way to like please the ghosts and keep them from being upset is to continue that tradition. And so, like, coming up, there's going to be a voodoo ball there's a Tim Burton ball, there's all these little like really cool festivals. There's going to be a paranormal like con festival there, and apparently this one's gotten a lot of traction, and that a ton of people are going to be there, and I was like, oh my god, I want to go to that one.
That's so cool.
Yes.
And it sounded like it was reasonably priced.
It was, because I think it was like $30 or $35, and that was like drinks were included, and it's just so gracious of this person to open their home to you. Yeah. And there's one other detail I really want to share too that I find fascinating. If you watch her episode on Ghost Adventures, or on YouTube, you can find it. She has a closet. I don't know if she did this or if she like bought the house and it was already like this, but there's a closet that is all painted black. You go in the closet, you close the door behind you, you sit in a chair, and you stare into a mirror in the dark. And
that's creepy.
And I think she calls it a psychosomantium. I might be getting that wrong. And it's like the experience is that when you're staring into that abyss, it's like a portal, and that you will hear ghosts like whispering in your ear, and that's an experience that you could have. And I'm like you said, that's creepy. I'm like, that is terrifying. Yeah. I'm not scared of Ouija boards or ghost communication, but for some reason, being locked in a closet is definitely a scary thing to me.
Well, and the fact that it's all of your senses would be blocked out if it's completely black in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You just have this mirror. No lights at all.
No lights.
So you'd have to use your other senses. Yeah. Interesting.
It is interesting. So now that I know a little bit more about the property, next time I go there, I want to like pick Joe's brain apart even more and hear more about her stories and see what I can dig up.
What a fun experience.
Yeah, it really, really, really was. So I'm really glad I could share that with you guys.
That's so cool.
What about you? I'm sure you have some awesome stuff to hit us with.
Yeah. So I know, just to kind of catch up, so last episode, at the end of season 1, I kind of talked about how my daughter and I are doing Enochian magic, or attempting to do Enochian magic. So I'll kind of tell you, I didn't get to do a whole lot of it while we were on break just because I was sick, but We are still working on the wax seal. I cannot believe how long it's taking for us to make it, but basically the wax seal, it's like probably about 8 to 10 inches in diameter, a circle. And so basically we're making this wax out of other wax. So we're melting candles. We put in like offerings into the seal, like dirt and flowers, and we even went so far as to put ourselves into it. So I think I put a piece of my hair in there.
Nice.
And Clarissa, even my whole family's involved in this, in the making of this seal. Like even my husband, who's a total skeptic, he said that he wanted to be involved in it too.
That's so awesome and sweet.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So he put like a piece of his beard hair in it.
Nice.
Yeah. And then you have to have this ceremonial ring. And so a traditional Enochian ceremonial ring is kind of like, I don't think I went in this on our Enochian magic series because I didn't really know that much about it, and I've learned so much since we did that episode. But
I bet.
So basically the ceremonial ring that you would use is like this. It's made out of metal, and people who do the magic, they say if you don't use a specific metal, the magic actually disintegrates the ring. And so we decided to use I think they're complete gold rings, and then you have to draw these. Most people carve it into their rings, but they're these angel sigils that you use. And so we decided to write them on paper. And you know how on some rings, like especially if they have gems in the back, there's usually this little hole. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so we just slipped our paper right in there. And
Perfect.
And so we've been wearing it like that. And funny enough that even we wear it the ring every time we're trying to work on the seal. And funny enough, my daughter had said, she's like, when she put her ring on for the first time, she's like, I feel an electricity. And sure enough, when I put the ring on, I felt one. We even made a ring for my son. So we all had this electricity going through our veins. And then when she stopped feeling that kind of electricity, maybe after a couple of weeks of wearing it, she pulled it off and she decided, well, maybe I got the piece of paper wet, and she pulled the paper out and there was a little circle that had disintegrated through the paper.
What?
Yeah,
that
it was totally crazy.
So crazy. Like, in the sun, you can like use the magnifying glass.
Right.
It almost sounds like that effect on your paper.
Exactly. And so, and we're not even doing any magic yet. We're still making the sigil. And I found out that you have to make all of these different things because this is some deep ceremonial magic.
Yes.
So like we have to make this huge tablecloth to go over this table, and that tablecloth we're going to hand embroider, and then you have all and then you have to wear these special robes, and you have all of these different things that you can use. And like I said in the Enochian magic episode we did, basically what we're trying to do is contact different angels with this magic. So once we get all of the components together, our hope is that we can contact these angels to, I don't know, I guess a lot of people use it for their personal gain, but my want to do this is for knowledge. I think that I can learn from the angels.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm really looking forward to it. I do have to say that as I've been working on it, I had this strange, crazy experience where we'd been working on the seal all day, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to bed. I'm feeling really tired. I was starting to feel sick. This was initially when I was starting to feel sick. And then like 2 or 3 days in a row, I astral projected each night when I went to bed.
Yes!
Of course. But I was doing magic in my dream. Like,
what? You were Sorcerer Mickey-ing it up?
I was like doing this candle magic. I don't even know where I was. But it was like I was with a group of other people, but we were all working separately.
Those could be actual astral projectors or like other entities. This is amazing.
It was totally amazing. Like, and then of course I got really sick afterwards, and I've been still trying to get out of it. But anyways, I was astral projecting into this room, and all I remember about it is that the walls, because there was so much candlelight in it, it made it seem like the reflection on the walls was almost a red color. And there were probably about 7 of us in there, and I was working around a specific table, and each of us had our own table, and we all had like 3 to 6 candles in front of us, and we were told to concentrate all of our positive energy into it. And that was it. It was like, that's what I was doing every night. It was like to heal the earth, that there was something detrimental going on, and we were all gathered into this space. Like, I heard this voice saying, you're all gathered here because we have to try to heal the earth, and we have to try to make, to right something that went wrong. And so I don't know where I was. I don't know who I was with. I didn't see it really pay that much attention. I just knew that I had to focus on doing this magic.
Oh, this is really mind-blowing.
Right? It was
this
pretty
is
intense.
so incredible. Like, it could have been aliens. It could have just been other humans.
It could have
You
been.
could already be somehow connecting to some sort of angel entity. You know, whatever you want to label it as, this crazy higher power.
Yeah.
This is so
whatever
cool.
it was. Yeah. So it was pretty intense. Yeah.
Wow. That could explain definitely why you were sick.
Right?
What?
Yeah.
Because, you know, magic, a lot of belief is that it takes a cost. And
Right.
what if using all of your energy, only 7 people's freaking energy to heal some sort of
heal the
wound
earth?
of the
Yeah.
earth? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you a goddamn, like, Captain Planet Planeteer, and you've got your rings, and is this what's
I'm not
happening right now?
It was pretty cool though. I during that time too, like, I think on night 2, I talked to my spirit guide, who, by the way, I think happened to be my future self that I talked to. Because I was like, okay, usually when I talk to my spirit guides, I hear another voice. I don't hear my voice. And this was the first time that I was talking to my spirit guide and I heard my own voice. So I was like, I just want to know if I'm going to astral project tonight. And then I heard back, and it was my voice, and it was like, yes, of course you are. And I was like, am I talking to me? And it responded back to me. It was like, yes, you are.
Is that comforting,
like-
you feel like?
Yeah, it
it's a
was
source
kind
you
of
can
weird.
trust.
It was kind of weird. Like, I wouldn't give myself any information. Like, I was like, fine, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. It was like, you should know by now that's not how this works. But
You're literally arguing with yourself.
Yeah. I'm like, come on, I need to know the future. And it was like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Pretty
a
intense.
lot of intense magical workings during the day and the night. Like,
Yes.
really, really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have something else that you wanted to talk about?
Well, you know, something did happen while we were on break that I thought was kind of newsworthy to mention, and that was the death of Lorraine Warren.
Oh, yeah. Good old Lorraine.
Just, you know, for listeners, Ed and Lorraine Warren, you know, the Warrens that the Conjuring movies are based off of, and like, they apparently did work on a lot of infamous cases, and they've have a lot of controversy, I know, surrounding them. And, you know, whether you agree with her style or not of investigating, I think she did draw a lot of eyes and attention into the paranormal community, whether for good or for bad. And, you know, it's kind of sad that she's passed. And
Yeah. I feel like she lived a really good, long life, though. It's not like she died when she was in her 30s.
Yeah.
You know, she lived a nice, long life, a lot of productivity in her life. Like, they wrote a lot of books. They did a lot of seminars.
they did.
So,
And
yeah.
like, I was kind of looking into her a little bit, and a lot of ghost hunters are trying to get EVPs with her. And there's one person who put it on YouTube, and I don't know if he tampered with audio samples from her and mashed it together, or if it's legit. You know, it's the internet, you never know. And it was a EVP of her saying like something along the lines like, I'm with Ed now and I'm happy.
Oh,
And so I was like,
good.
what? That's so cool. But I was looking into her cases. You know, I know she was part of like the Amityville Horror and so many different like poltergeist stories. And there's a lot of people who would come out and kind of talk about the way they would do investigations and how like they would establish it back in the day by like, standing in front of a house that she had like these abilities that she could sense when a place was haunted. And then she would tell Ed is haunted, and he would just stand outside and just paint their house. in front of them, and that's kind of how they'd get their in. And then after a few hours of like doing his art, he would go knock on the door and show them what he made, and then kind of like together they'd get invited in for like tea and drinks, and then tell them like what kind of stuff Lorraine was picking up on, and they would like build their cases from there. And I wonder if any of those like paintings are still out there. I would assume they are.
Yeah, I would think so. How cool.
Yeah. Did you ever get like into the Amityville horror case growing up? Because I know I did.
Yeah, totally. I read the book. I remember initially thinking that the story that I was reading wasn't exactly correct.
And that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
I always had this feeling that the boy that was convicted, the older brother, I feel like he wasn't the only one who was involved with the murders. I think one of his sisters also helped.
Oh,
I've
okay.
always
That's
felt
what you're
like
saying.
that. Yeah.
What I've been able to find out through like people coming out now who were involved is that I guess there was that murder case, and they wanted the guy to say that having paranormal activity involved and that kind of thing would help him plead like insanity and get out of it. Right. And so somehow the Warrens kind of come in there and they corroborate. Yeah, there's all this stuff going on, and they'll kind of just say whatever and go along with whatever and try to make it super outlandish. And then they will hire someone to like write a book, and they'll give them like a few facts or just even a few things of information, and then tell the writer, you just go with it and make it scary. And then from like down the road, I remember being a kid and watching a show about it, and I was taking it as fact.
Right.
And I was terrified because there was a special on TV, and it was talking about how there was a little girl who lived in the house, and she had an invisible friend or imaginary friend who was like a demon pig who would like sit on the rocking chair, and the rocking chair would move all by itself. And I was just so captivated and terrified to be like, holy shit, this stuff is real. And it's kind of a relief to think, no, they probably just made it sound that crazy extreme, but it wasn't.
And I imagine that after the murders occurred, that there probably was activity in the house after a gruesome murder such as that. I mean, there were 6 people murdered. Right.
And some sort of energy. And so it's like, that's a really weird thing with paranormal stuff, is who's to say, how can you defend your own paranormal experience and try to make it relatable to other people and describe it to other people? Because you could just sound crazy all the time. So I guess there's a part of me that should realize that the Warrens probably did experience certain things.
Right. Do I think that there were pig demons in there? I don't think so. Right. But I never really thought that aspect of it was correct. But
there's like a sliver of truth for sure.
Yeah, there's a sliver of truth. But, you know, it sold a lot of books, sold a lot of movies, and they redid that one with Ryan Reynolds, and he had his shirt off. And, so there we go.
Yeah, so thank you.
So thank you for that. Good times.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of ghosts, I do have a paranormal experience that happened.
Awesome.
I'll just segue right into that one. So last weekend, I don't even remember what I was doing. I think I had just got done doing some much needed yard work, and I was just kind of sitting in the house, and I was relaxing, and all of a sudden and my daughter was in the kitchen, and I was in the living room, and the other 2 people in the house were upstairs. So it was just the 2 of us downstairs. And all of a sudden there was this weird noise in the office. So my office is just located right off of our living room. And it sounded like you could hear feet shuffling in my office. And mind you, this is where we're doing all of our Enochian magic stuff, where I usually do my magic in my office. I have a whole setup in here. So I hear these feet shuffling, and then I hear something that sounds like it thuds onto the floor and pounds itself onto the floor. And I'm like, both my daughter and I stop, kind of look around, and I was like, and you could kind of almost hear like claws, like scratching. And so my immediate thought was, do we have a mouse? I was not thinking anything paranormal. I was literally thinking
a rodent.
There has to be a fucking rat in my house, and that thing needs to go right now. So I just calmly stand up, and I'm like walking into the office, and I don't see any sign of mice, but what I do see is I have these rolls, like packing tape, the rolls of packing tape.
Yeah.
Well, I have probably like 5 or 6 rolls that are sitting on these shelves. So we have a shelving unit that's in the wall, and I have like 6 rolls that are sitting up there. And what had happened was, and mind you, they're pushed far back onto the wall. There's no way that anything can fall off of the shelf. Everything's put in there just right. But one of the rolls had been thrown onto the floor and had rolled across the floor. And both my daughter and I, when we saw it, we just immediately turned, because we weren't wearing our Enochian rings at that time. We were charging them on the wax sigil thing that we're making. And we just immediately felt like we needed to put those on. So we grabbed the ring, put it on, and felt like we needed to start working on the sigil, that something was trying to get our attention to start working on our project again.
Interesting. Okay. So just a friendly little...
Yeah, it was just a little friendly reminder.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. So did you watch the rest of Sabrina? Did you end up watching the whole?
I did. I watched it, and I feel like it went into like a interesting, kind of questionable direction towards the end. I was like,
right.
Where are they going to take this?
Right. Kind of dark. I liked it.
You liked it?
Yeah, I like the dark stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. This season, I had my moments of just kind of like, I don't know, phasing out of it a little bit. And I was like, this is going in weird places. I feel like they're going to write themselves into a corner. Like, how are they going to get out of it? But I'm going to keep invested.
Of course.
Yeah. I did end up watching another witch like movie that they added on Netflix recently. Like, they have definitely added a ton of horror and paranormal, and so I just was typing in the word witch, and I got this movie called The Witch Files. Have you ever heard of it? I think it came out maybe 2015, 17, somewhere along there. And it's like a found footage type of movie where it's just like people are filming their experience kind of thing, so it's supposed to feel like very real. And it starts with these like 4 girls in detention. And
oh my gosh, wait, I did see this.
Did you watch it?
Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of it. Yeah, the girls are sitting in the office and
they're in detention. And like one of them's like, detention. I'm gonna get us out of here.
Yeah, and she sets off the alarm.
Yeah. So maybe for viewers who haven't seen it, if you have Netflix, I feel like it's worth just like watching.
Yeah,
it's like a cute, very inspired, I feel like, by The Craft kind of, and it's a fun story about these girls like coming together to learn and harness this power, and it's playing with similar themes of The Craft, like this power has a consequence and they have to like kind of learn from it, and I just thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was cute.
So I'm always down for some witch material. I love to check it out.
Absolutely.
See if it offends me or if I get a kick out of it, and that one I got a kick out of.
Yeah.
What other stuff have you been checking out, though?
So my husband and I, we watched Lucifer, and that show had been canceled. It was like on KATU or something like that, and then it got canceled, and ABC, I should say. It was on ABC. Got canceled, went to Netflix. So we watched the new...
Okay, so they brought it back.
Yeah, they brought it back.
Nice.
Because all these fans were like, you can't leave it. You cannot leave the show. We love this. And so Netflix purchased it.
Man.
And they put out 10 episodes, and they brought in a girl called Eve, which they say is Lucifer's first love. And that was like, for me, I was like, that's not true. That's not based on any sort of reality.
Right. Isn't it supposed to be like Lilith or no?
Lilith. Yeah, it's supposed to be Lilith. And so it was funny because my husband was like, honey, calm down. This is just a TV show. Right.
I know when you're yelling at any kind of paranormal show where you know more about it than you feel like the showrunners, you're like, you're wrong. Yeah. That's not how you cast a circle. That's not how it works.
Exactly. And they were talking about how there was going to be a baby who was born half angel, and they were like, this has never happened before. I was like, lies again. What about the Nephilim?
Yes. I would love to see like the Book of Enoch, and it's just a fun rom-com show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, let's write that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So, but still, I still love the show. I still love the actors. So I was glad that they brought that back.
Man.
Even though there's some, Yeah.
I really wish that they would have brought back is it the Witches of East End?
Yes. Oh my God, I loved that show.
I really, really loved it too. The first 2 seasons are on Netflix, but then it just got canceled and they did not bring it back. And
yeah,
it was really cute.
Very cute. I was sad when that ended. I remember I watched that when it first aired before it even went to Netflix. So I was like, every week I was watching that show.
I love the aunt so much. I think she could like turn into the cat, and
yeah,
I loved her. She was just really quirky, and it was like the 2
So
older
great.
sisters and then the 2 daughters, and it was so good.
And they didn't really know they were witches. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I watched Constantine, finally, the TV show.
Oh, what's funny is I was watching that a little bit too, because it's always been on my radar, but because it wasn't Keanu Reeves, I would like watch an episode and then take like a year break, watch another episode. Like I think I'm on episode like 3.
Oh, I binge watched it. I really liked it. And you know what was crazy is he does this one scene where he's on top of a building and he is doing a sigil, like a round type of sigil. And he said this is a very old magic, and that's an Enochian seal that he drew.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, I had to pause it, and I got out my book, and I was like, oh my God, they actually did. They did it right.
That's respect.
So I was shocked. Yeah. I was like, where did they learn this?
That's
this is
so
awesome.
cool. When I was watching like a week or 2 ago, he was doing blood magic, and like the girl comes into his house and he's just like naked and covered in blood, and like doing weird chanting, and I'm like, this guy's all right, like because it looks like it's tangible stuff that a real person of magic could do, and then of course a little bit of flair of Hollywood, but it like in the basis of like being in a circle, using blood, smearing it on your body, like it's just really cool.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that they used in there, I was like, it was point on, and I was just really shocked. I was like, who helped them with that? And whoever it was, kudos to you.
Yeah, I know that was another one that like fans were really upset got canceled. I don't know if it's going to come back or not.
I don't think so. They turned it into a cartoon. I think that's how they're bringing it back.
Oh, I did see that cartoon too, actually.
Yeah.
So
and then the guy who plays him, who plays Constantine, he's also in, I can't remember the TV show. It's on CW. His character has been revived on that show. It's like in lines with The Flash and Supergirl.
Oh,
like Legends of Tomorrow. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
Legends of Tomorrow.
So is he Constantine on that show then?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And that whole character just transferred over into.
That's how people responded to him, and I think it really means a lot to him, and you can kind of tell in his performance.
Right. He does so well with that character. So
yeah. Yay! I love it when people actually try to do magic, like, and pay respect to it in media.
Right. Yeah, I know. My husband and I have also been watching The Magicians.
Okay, how do you like it?
I like it. I mean, it's definitely not based on the magic that we know of, but they put a lot of they pull a lot of gods into it, and that in that respect they do a really good job when they're talking about the different gods and what they stand for.
Gotcha.
Or gods and goddesses, I should say.
That's neat.
So,
yeah,
I really like that.
Yay for paranormal content on Netflix.
Right? I just was doing a quick search this morning to see if there was anything Bigfoot related out there.
Woo!
And I just wanted to say I found it kind of funny because the first article that I came across was like, best places to see Bigfoot are in Texas. And then the next article after that, best places to see Bigfoot are in Pennsylvania. And then one after that was like, best places to see Bigfoot are in Washington. I'm like, every state is just like, come see Bigfoot now.
Wow. They're trying to like cater that to the tourism, I guess.
Right. Right. It's like everybody's totally pushing for, the tourism. It's camping time, so come camp and come Bigfoot watch or hunt or whatever.
Yeah. Apparently, like, I think it's the Bigfoot research organization that we talked about before. That you can pay them to go on like little excursions, and that there were people like who were trying to capitalize on that. And like, there's this one guy in particular who made an organization, and he was just trying to like kind of be a fraud about it and be like, yeah, come find Bigfoot just to make money, kind of thing.
Right.
But I would be down. I would trust the Bigfoot organization because I don't want to get into it hardcore myself and go down that rabbit hole of buying all that equipment and learning how to be a camper and how to be a survivor. But I would be like a weekend warrior kind of Bigfoot hunter. Like, one little weekend of my year.
Yeah, one weekend a year, exactly. Not like, okay, this is what I'm going to give my whole life to. Exactly.
I've
got too many interests for that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't narrow it down. If it's paranormal, I'm involved in some way, but...
Yeah, exactly. There's this, like, road here in Texas that I would wish you could come just travel with me for. It's kind of like a day trip, I want to say, like maybe 4 hours away. And... apparently if you go at a certain time at night, you look out into the forest and it's just right off the side of the road, you can see like this weird dangling like phosphorus kind of light kind of thing, and it's got a Bigfoot legends attached to it and Bigfoot sightings attached to it, and people think it could be like paranormal, like some sort of ghost like entity or some sort of ghost lantern, and people try to figure out what the hell it is because there's no doubt that it's not there. Like, so many people have gone and seen it. People are trying to say, is it like the gases from some sort of swamp thing that's going on there? Maybe it's some sort of gas reflecting light.
It's like the one where there's a ball of light kind of in the sky.
I think it's like somewhere in the wooded terrain, like just through the trees.
Yeah, right. I think they've done several different paranormal shows that have had that.
Any insight on what the hell they think it is?
A lot of people were really not sure. I remember, I think Fact or Fake tried to debunk it, but they couldn't.
Right? Like, no one has answers, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Today's technology and world, you think you could describe a light in the forest, but...
Right?
Yeah.
So crazy.
It is.
Well, one day we are going to go squatching. I'm sure of it. I just don't know when.
Exactly.
Hopefully it's when I'm still young enough that my body's not like, okay, I'm done.
Exactly. Yeah.
I saw an article in the news about the Marines or the Navy or something having to do with UFOs that they're trying to... I'm going to bring it up really quick. So basically it's the Navy, and they're trying to come up with the new guidelines to reporting a UFO. I think it was so that people didn't think that they were crazy.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. So they didn't want, they want people to keep making the reports without feeling like they're going to be told, we don't believe you.
Right. Like, to try to drop the stigma that if you report some sort of UFO activity that you're not as crazy, or to tarnish your reputation.
Right.
Which
exactly.
says a lot. Like, I think that the Marines and even, like, I think the Navy, they see a lot of shit in the sky.
Totally. And it's not just the sky. They see stuff in the water, too. And if we think about it, I mean, think of all we've talked about, it's just like when we were talking about mermaids, how much water is out there that we've never gone to.
For some reason, that freaks me out when I think about, like, the movie Abyss and, like, aliens in our waters. Like, I love theorizing on it, but it's so close to home. And to think that, like, there's so much we wouldn't know, like, it kind of freaks me out.
Yeah. I get it.
It's pretty cool, though. Do you know any of the reports of what they say that they've seen?
I know that they've just seen, I know they've seen stuff come straight up from the water out into the sky. So the Navy will be like, okay, something just flew out of the water and into the sky. What can do that? Not a submarine.
Right.
Not any animal that we know of. What could be doing that? And it's usually fast moving, sometimes at night where they can see the lights of what's going out there. So, I mean, is there a possibility that there's some undercover military craft that's doing it, that, you know how the military is, if it's a need to know basis, if you're not on that list, then you don't need to know about it. So yes, we could be testing something that's out there like that, but the reality is we're probably not.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could try to say, well, maybe it's some sort of high tech from Russia or another country.
Right.
It's like, I don't think so.
I highly doubt it. Yeah. Because they're probably using stuff that we don't. I mean, think of what their crafts could be made of. I don't know if we are quite there. I think we're close to being comparable to them, but I'm not quite positive.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a flight knowledgeable person, but
right. Well, I had one more thing that I came across while we were on break.
Yeah.
And this one is really out there, and it's alien involved as well. It's called a group called the Allies of Humanity.
Okay.
And my daughter actually told me about them. She was like, I came across this group because she was kind of studying up on different cults, just to like, there was something on Hulu, I think, that she was watching that was about different cults. So it would go in depth on what they were, who they were, when they were around, and what they believed in. And so she was like, I really want to study cults now. So she started looking, and she came across this group called the Allies of Humanity. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily say that they are a cult in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
I did not get that from them at all. Usually when you think cult, you think, okay, you have to be a part of us and you can't be a part of anybody else. These are just regular everyday people.
Right. Okay.
But there was this man, I'm going to try to look up his name really quick because I don't remember his name. Marshall Vion Summers. He is a writer, and he wrote these books that he said were given to him by aliens. So, you know, that whole, if you're writing where you're just kind of zoned out and you're just writing.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Automatic
Do you know
writing?
what I'm talking about? Yeah, automatic writing. So he was given this automatic writing from aliens. And I've heard of this before.
Yeah, like Abraham Hicks,
yeah.
Law of Attraction kind of books. I think she says
Yes.
similar things, but from her spirit guides.
Right. And so this guy, he said that these were from a group called the Allies of Humanity. So these people are on the side of humans, but are warning us that there are bad aliens out there who are going to try to use us for their own gain.
Reptilians!
Yeah, basically. So it was basically this whole good and evil alien thing. And they said, yes, we believe that they said, yes, we know this may seem crazy and we are real. They basically say that we have to change our ways and that we have to bring up our vibration. And these books were written, I think, at specific intervals. There were like 3 or 4, and they're available online for free. So like we literally were reading them.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like, I think one was given out in 1990 something, and then another one in 2000, and like another one right before 2012. Mm-hmm. And basically it was just over like this 20-year period that he was given this information. They're telling us that there's going to be an invasion, and it's probably going, and they said it's currently going on, where they're infiltrating themselves like into our society. We don't know that they're aliens.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh yeah.
Right? Very Men in Black. I just immediately go to reptilians. I need to go learn about them more, because there's something that I find hilarious and also fascinating. But I bet if I were to actually dig deep, I would go from hilarious to terrified.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, I hate to say it, but I feel like humanity as a whole has dug itself in kind of a grave as far as like the way we take care of the earth, the way there's wars, the way there's this crazy power structure and the rich get richer, you know, that kind of thing. Like, I don't know how much change one can affect on a small scale, and I wonder if it's just the way of the beast that we do get wiped out, as emo as that sounds. Like, kind of like that's just the only way to start anew is
to kill ourselves.
Maybe a collapse or some sort of meteor shower. I don't know. I of course don't want to live through that, but I the older I get, maybe the more cynical I become. I'm just like, there's no way, guys. We can't change the world. But I don't know. What do you feel like?
I feel like we have reached a point where we can't fully change it, but then apparently part of me thinks that we can still save it if I was out doing magic with others to try to heal the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you're part of the Avengers and your goddamn astro magic.
I feel like that what I've learned about the earth over the past year is that there are certain aspects of it that can heal itself, and I think that the earth has that ability. However, that being said, I do think that the more that humans try to fuck it up, the more that the earth is going to lash out at us by giving us hurricanes, earthquakes, that kind of thing to knock us off the planet so that it can heal itself properly.
Right. It's like we're the termites kind of infecting and spreading.
Right.
And
exactly.
yeah.
We don't look, a lot of us were just, well, a lot of humans, they're just bumbling around on earth and they're worried about their electronics and they're worried about this and they're worried about money. But they don't realize that the planet that we're living on is a living, breathing thing.
Right.
It's alive.
A lot of people don't even want to spend their time outside.
Right.
In any
and
given day.
They don't want to be thankful for what they have, and they're always wanting more and wanting more and wanting more, and it's always to be the biggest and the best. But
yeah,
I'm finding that's not what life is really all about.
Exactly. We did have a listener ask us a question.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we had our listener, Liz. She was just kind of asking, as a beginner witch, tips on getting into tarot and how to use that. And I know we've kind of briefly mentioned this before in some past episodes, but I think tarot is such a big part of magic, and it can be so overwhelming that it's a common question. And
right.
I still think that even after like using the cards, I think for now a year or two, that I'm still a student and I kind of take my time, and you could really like dive in and try to learn every single card. And if you want to go that route, I would recommend maybe learning the major arcana, and then from there like learning each suit, like swords, cups, wands, pentacles. And if you're looking for resources, there's a lot of free stuff online. Like a website that's really great is Biddy Tarot, BIDDY tarot.com, and you can look at each card, their upright meaning and then their reversal meaning, and even just use that as you're drawing the cards and reading for yourself or others. It's okay to use a book as you do your readings, and it's okay not to know everything there is about a card.
Right.
And just take it slow. Like, what does the card tell you intuitively? Then maybe learn what those specific symbols mean, and just look into the details of the photo and even the weather and the architecture and the detailing and what fruits do you see and all these kinds of things. Like just trying to layer back and getting deeper and deeper into the meaning, and just take your time.
Exactly. And I know you and I read so differently. Like I actually get visions usually. So for me, I've been reading cards for about 17 years, and I still have to use a book if I don't get a vision. But 9 times out of 10 now I'm at the point where I'm just holding the book in my hand because I don't actually really need it, but it's like my security blanket.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually just looking at the card, feeling the energies of the card, feeling the energies, and seeing. I literally see visions now when I'm doing it. So I feel like I go based on that, and it may not even be what a regular person would say that the card means.
Yeah.
So
don't feel pressure if you don't see visions.
Don't feel pressured. Yeah,
I don't think that's common. I want to say maybe you're in a smaller percentile. Maybe I'm naive to that, but like everyone has their own way of doing things. And even if you don't want to use like the classic decks, get a deck that resonates with you. And I've seen so many decks that are really fun and based on like maybe books and movies, like a Legend of Zelda tarot deck, Game of Thrones tarot.
Right. Yeah,
that can
something
really
that speaks to you.
Yeah, that can really, really help you. Like if you already know what those characters in that story represent, you already have a sense of what that card means when you draw it. Right. And there's so many little ways that you can make tarot easier.
Right. Like for me, I know initially when I first started reading cards, I didn't actually use a traditional deck. I used playing cards, and I had a book that told me what each playing card represented. And so initially for years, that's how I read for people. I didn't know what, other than the Ace of Spades, which is basically the death card.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know what anything else meant. I had to really rely on my book and then had to start feeling start learning what the different things were, the hearts, the diamonds, the clovers, all the different things, what they meant. So definitely take your time and don't punish yourself. I felt like that was my biggest drawback initially. It was like I punished myself if I had to use the book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And don't punish yourself. Don't worry about it. And just always know that you'll always be a student of any kind of any kind of magic, it's always
Yeah.
growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would say too, just tips and tricks if you get a new deck. I would recommend saging that deck, either with a sage stick, some Palo Santo, or if you have some incense burning, that can be really great. You can even cleanse it under the full moon and the moonlight, the sunlight. Sleep with it under your pillow, carry it in your bag, carry it in your pocket, get a personal connection with it.
Yep. And you can cleanse them with salt. I used to always keep a fresh, clear, coarse salt bag next to me that I would put them in.
I like that.
Yeah. And then what was one of the other things that I've used? A scrying stone.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love to incorporate the scrying stone now, like as a card selection tool mechanism.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'll like try to cut the deck in a stack of 3, use a pendulum, and try to get a yes/no response of which stack to grab, and I'll keep narrowing it down. And that was a really fun exercise for me.
Nice.
I also kind of want to mention this really badass tarot deck that is coming out. I think it's available for pre-order. It's called the Modern Witches Tarot. And the thing that's really freaking great about it is it's going off of the old school Rider-Waite deck, which is one of the more famous decks that you can ever find. And a lot of decks are based off of it. But this one's putting modern men and women into the photos, so there's a lot of inclusivity, a lot of different colors, genders, sexes, all those kinds of things. And it's really modern because it'll be like for the Fool card, and traditionally it's just like some kind of like popper looking guy walking off a cliff and very like, you know, medieval. And the new one, I think it's like a hipster chick with her headphones and her iPad, just like not paying attention to the world and about to walk over. So that was one thing that I kind of got hung up with on tarot, was like, how do I translate this medieval fucker knight into modern day, you know?
Right.
And so with this, it's kind of telling you that story, like, oh, well, maybe you're spending too much time plugged into your electronics. You got to like pay attention to the world around you. And I really want to get this deck, and I highly recommend even just like looking it up. It's the Modern Witch Tarot by Lisa Sterl, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. It's only like $25, totally worth it.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Definitely.
So cool.
Always fun to talk about ghosties, Bigfoot, aliens, magic. So happy to be back, and thank you to all of our listeners.
Too.
We've missed you guys a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Good to be here.
Anything else we want to talk about for today before we wrap things up?
I don't think I had anything else. This is like a packed full episode. We had some really good stories. Good times.
I know. Like, how long has it been that I've been saying I never see ghosts, I never see ghosts, and I finally had a more tangible ghost experience than ever. So the next step is just to see one.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think really takes a lot to see a ghost.
I agree.
Yeah. Love it.
As always, we'd love to hear from you, even if it's just to say hello, introduce yourself. If you have a paranormal story you want to share with us, if you'd like us to read it on air, we would be so happy to do that. And if you have witch questions or advice, any kind of questions, just hit us up in our email at cousinscoven2@gmail.com. So join us next time, and we're going to be discussing New Orleans hoodoo, voodoo, vodou, and Marie Laveau. And you can always follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to check out our blog, cousinscoven.home.blog, and you can go there and sign up for our monthly newsletter, and also find witchy words of wisdom, spells, archive, podcast episodes. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share, and we'll hear from you guys next time.
Yay. May you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and join each other. Blessings to all.